You know, there's nothing quite like a birth, a new birth. We had a new grandchild this past week, David Quill Hernandez. He is predestined to be a puncher with that name. We're excited. We so welcome baby Quill into this world. Again, there's nothing like a new birth. And the same goes in a conversation that Jesus had with a man named Nicodemus was his full name. He came to Jesus at night because he was a little nervous because he was in power there where Jesus was speaking and doing ministry that day. And even as a power player, he was so intrigued, as educated as he was, as wealthy as he probably was. He was so intrigued with Jesus and the message and the story and the kindness and the credibility that Jesus gave when he taught. And he said, I want to know more. And Jesus said, you must be born again. Yeah, he said, you must be born again. Nicodemus said, I don't know what you're talking about. And Jesus said, you're such a smart guy. You're a religious leader and you don't understand. Well, here's the bottom line. Jesus said, ultimately, if you just let me summarize this for you, there's two births that must happen before you can be in a relationship with God the Father, before you can go to heaven, before you can get this freedom from all of your hurts, habits, and hang-ups here on this earth. You must be born again. You know what that's talking about? When Jesus said you got to be born of the water, that's your mama, and then you got to be born of the Spirit. That's what Jesus does for us. And so at some point, baby Quill is going to come to a point in his life. I hope it's early. I hope it's 5, 6, 7, 8, when he comes to the realization that he needs to be born again. And it won't be from McKenna Hernandez. It will be from Jesus. And to get there, we've all had to make that decision. I had to make it. I made it when I was 19 years old to be born again. And you know what gets us there? What ultimately happens in that birthing process is once we understand what sin is and we believe who Jesus was and that he's exactly who he said he was, that he physically, bodily came out of the grave 3 days later, then what do? Number one, we acknowledge our need for him. We acknowledge our sin. Number two, we actually ask him to forgive us. You know, once we confess sins, that just means I'm agreeing with God that I'm in a mess. Whatever that mess is. You may be a felony sinner or what we call it, Cross Brenda, misdemeanor sinner. Kidding, that's not the thing. Sin is sin. Once you come to that point, guys, you are starting the birthing process. If you've never been born again, please reach out to us. Invite Jesus into your heart today. Invite Jesus into your life, actually, by agreeing that you need him, agreeing that he is exactly who he said he was. And that is your bottom line.